Welcome, dear listeners. I'm Jonathan Carlin.
And I'm Benjamin Carlin.
And we invite you to join us through the Griffin door, your one-way ticket to the enchanting world of Harry Potter. So grab your wands and dust off your broomsticks and join us as we unlock the dark corridors inside Order of the Phoenix, Chapter 8, The Hearing.
Oh man, we are getting into some real business up in Order of the Phoenix here. I feel like the reason that people are hazy about Order of the Phoenix is just how hard it is like established. Like the things are bad, so things can get better situation is very thick.
Yes, it is.
You know, and it's like the opening, like a lot of times I always think that like Harry's being kind of like moody and like whiny through the beginning of Order of the Phoenix. And that is true, but he has just about every right to feel that way.
Right. I mean, it's like, especially going through it the way we have been, you really feel the pain he's going through.
You do. And it just continues to ramp up for a good while to come.
I know. It's like, it's not going to slow down. I don't know. I'm like, at the very least until chapters like 16, but even then, not entirely.
I mean, I just opened a chapter 23, Christmas on the Closed Ward, which means like Arthur is attacked.
Right.
So,
I mean, Occlumency 24, that's still bad. What do we have here? The Centaur and the Sneak.
Right. Well, the Beetle at Bay ends up being kind of helpful there at 25, because that's like when you get like the Quibbler article and you start to see like a little bit of like resistance rising.
They start to have some victories, but like the umbrage of it all really takes quite a while to be defeated.
It does. It does. Yes. And I think that's what makes her such a formidable villain, and also why her ultimate defeat is just so delicious.
Yes, it is.
But speaking of umbrage, obviously she's very vital for this chapter in particular, because we are going to get like our very first kind of just like, I mean, we will get her by name, but like our first kind of like touch point for who this character is going to be, and how, like what we're going to be up against. And with her.
I mean, she is going to fully arrive in this chapter.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, let's see here. Let's take a look at the chapter art where you've kind of got this like Harry seated in the chair that's got the sort of like foreboding chains. The chains are not pictured here, but we can imagine that they're there. Yeah. And then you've got Fudge basically looking down upon Harry up from like his position of power.
Yeah. I mean, this, I want to say we talked about this live, but there is a different chapter art. I want to say like the Dementors or something, or the Dementor's Kiss, I think, in Prisoner of Azkaban, where Harry is like standing over Sirius's body and there's just like a crowd of Dementors coming down on him.
Yeah.
And I want to say this image is very much supposed to like intentionally harken back to that image, except now instead of the Dementors, it is the literal Ministry of Magic that is causing the mayhem.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you've kind of got like all these, like you've got Fudge clearly defined, but then all of the other like heads back there are just sort of little floating silhouettes.
Yeah, with shadowy figures.
Exactly, which definitely doesn't exactly make it the most inviting group of people you could ever, interact with.
Oh, absolutely not. And that's going to be the point. The point of all of it is to just like demonstrate to Harry the might of the ministry.
That's right. That's right. Yep. So then the other kind of like big note just for people picking up with the new episode who haven't just been, like powering through, obviously is that we're coming out of just like one of the most stressful chapters that we've had from the whole series so far. Like not to say it would necessarily have the same level of like action as like, the graveyard scene with Voldemort at the end of Goblet or anything like that, because all that happens is Harry travels from number 12 Grimmauld Place to the Ministry, and it ends with him just outside the door to enter and go into his hearing.
Right. And Mr. Weasley's like, all right, go on in. And he's like, aren't you coming with me? He's like, oh, I'm not allowed. And I'm like, I don't even feel like you know that. Like, I would walk him in if I were you, Arthur.
Yeah, wait to be excused.
And they'd be like, all right, please leave.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't leave his side until somebody forces you to.
That's exactly. I know. If they switch the location, who knows what the rules are anymore, you know?
Right. Everything's out the window now.
Yeah.
Of course, we also will know by the end of the chapter that Arthur doesn't have the slightest clue what he's walking into. Like he's completely baffled. Like it's the sheer innocence of somebody like Arthur Weasley to not understand that the opposition would go to these lengths.
Oh, I know. And it's like, even when he walks out, like he is going to be startled that the entire Wizengamot was down there.
Exactly.
Like even at this point, he hasn't put it together. As far as he's concerned, he's sending in Harry to chat with Amelia Bones just in this courtroom instead of her office for some reason. Yeah.
Right. Like, why they're doing it down here, I have no idea.
Right.
And it's sort of like, yes, I think you're exactly correct. Like he still just thinks it's just Madam Bones in there.
Right.
But it's not. It's not. So would you like to kick us off with the first chapter? The first sentence, rather.
The first chapter. Of course, I shall read the entire thing. Let's go. No, let's go. The first chapter is going to lead us in. It says, Harry gasped. He could not help himself. And then the dragons arrived.
A bit of a reversed order there.
I
It
know.
seems like the dragons should arrive and then Harry gasped because he could not help himself.
Yes, I know. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to help myself either if dragons arrived. Yeah.
Right. So maybe it should say, Harry gasped. He could not help himself. And then the dragons arrived and he gasped again and filled himself with so much oxygen that he got slightly dizzy.
And then he burnt to a crisp.
Yes, due to the dragons and the flames.
Right, due to him because of the dragons and the flames and the teeth and things.
That's right. Yeah. The large dungeon he had entered was horribly familiar. He had not only seen it before, he had been here before. This was the place that he had visited inside of Dumbledore's Pensive, the place where he had watched the Lestranges sentenced to life imprisonment in Azkaban.
Yeah, all right. So that's just straight confirmation that where Harry saw the trials of Ludo Bagman and Igor Karkaroff and the Lestranges and Barty Crouch Jr. was in this exact same room.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. So kind of like I mentioned in the last chapter, I think it's very ironic that the last time that we visited this particular chamber as the reader, it was prosecuting Voldemort's followers. And now here we are prosecuting the one kid who is basically single-handedly attempting to fight Voldemort.
Right.
But it's weird how the tables have turned.
It is absolutely weird. You can imagine this is exactly the effect the Ministry is trying to have on Harry. They're like, oh, like not that they know he knows what happens in this room, but the room kind of speaks for itself in like an ominous, this is a bad place to be kind of room.
It definitely does.
Yeah.
Yeah. It says the walls are made of dark stone, dimly lit by torches. And it's like, even though it never seems like light bulbs are commonplace in the wizarding world, like the idea of using a torch, like I don't feel like it was ever described as like anywhere in the upper levels of the Ministry using something as crude as torches.
Right.
You know, it's like for whatever reason, I still think that they're like gas lanterns or,
or they're fake windows and they're fake sunlight or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, but it certainly doesn't seem like we would go so far as to doing something like that. So once again, this is sort of like the weird mystery that is the Ministry of Magic in general, which we will know like later in the book when Harry goes to the Department of Mysteries, he'll find the veil. And at least according to Pottermore, the entire Ministry is built around the discovery of the veil, like almost as if it's like being protected underneath this like labyrinth because it's effectively a portal to death. So it's a very good thing to keep safe, but it also like it very like harkens back to this idea that what you're witnessing was almost like the more original version of the Ministry, like as if they would have wanted to have burrowed down as far as possible for like safety, for headquarters, for trials, you know, like it feels very medieval in nature. Whereas, you know, then clearly as time has gone on, they've like grown more comfortable and they've built a government and all that type of stuff. You've kind of got the more glitzy, glamorous version of the Ministry that exists above.
Right.
You know, going towards the surface.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And then I think what that sentence you just read, I think it's really like well done in ways that like you're not going to pick up on until a couple of rereads. But it's like, if you think about it, it says this is the place where he had watched the Lestranges sentenced to life imprisonment in Azkaban. But if you go back to when Harry was actually in the Pensive watching it happen, he doesn't even learn their names in there. You know, all he learns, he doesn't even learn Barty Crouch Jr.'s name. He just knows that that's Barty Crouch's son. And 3 other people.
Right.
And if you're Harry, like, to me, if you're referring to this room, it's the place where you saw Barty Crouch Jr. sentenced to Azkaban, because he's the one you met and dealt with for an entire year.
Right, true.
And yet it is phrased as the Lestranges. So that is like a really that's like a clue to you, the reader, that those people are going to be more important in this chapter, because there's no reason Harry would associate this room more with them than the guy who almost killed him and brought Voldemort back.
100% true.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, he like the whole Barty Crouch Jr., Mad Eye, Switcherooski, like, it's so strange to me sometimes because Barty Crouch Jr. was such a big deal and such a fun character to like investigate for all of Goblet of Fire.
Yeah.
Like, it almost makes me think of like, in the real world, if there's like your favorite TV show and one of the key characters gets an opportunity to go play like another more important role that they like want more. So they like write the character out in a way that's just sort of like abrupt and sort of like, oh yeah, that person's not here anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, sometimes it feels like that's like what happened with Barty Crouch Jr. Like he just got like the actor who played him just got busy and now he's gone. So now it's like the other people in the room. Let's worry about those people now.
It's like a Boone in Lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is like
just
Boone
like,
in
you know
Lost.
what? We how about this? He's gonna go be in Vampire Diaries?
Some one of those,
I think it's one of those. So you know what? This is a great opportunity to have a hyper dramatic moment on Lost. We'll just kill somebody.
Right.
Yeah.
It works out.
You know
well.
it's Lost. You can come back whenever you want. Who knows? Island ghosts. Weird. What was that? We'll never answer it.
Oh, it's very frustrating, actually. Lost. I mean, if we were to ever do another like a TV show watch along, Lost would be an interesting one to do. But also, it's just so twisty and ridiculous. So
yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, so then we get kind of like an interesting, it's like an ominous silence falls, and you get what says a cold male voice rang across the room. You're late. And at least in the Jim Dale audiobook, this is delivered in the voice of Fudge.
Right.
And it makes plenty of sense for it to be Fudge. But I even think the fact that we're getting like the cold, which is something heavily associated with like how Voldemort speaks.
Yes, that like cold, high-pitched voice.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's going to be otherwise like ambiguous, which is going to like say that like the Fudge we knew is now like gone.
Right.
You know, like the kind of playful, like, how does he describe him? Like an uncle,
like a blustering.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So, like he's been like sort of doting on Harry.
Yeah.
You know, but
like amiable.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Not bad. And then Harry's like, sorry. Oh, I didn't know the time had changed. And then it says, that is not the Wizengamot's fault. An owl was sent to you this morning. Take your seat.
Yeah. It is the Wizengamot's fault.
It absolutely is. And it's also 8:05 in the morning.
Right.
Like, so it says like a letter was sent to you this morning. It's like, when?
You
know, and also like they're about to literally describe like Harry's address as being like Harry James Potter of number 4 Privet Drive, Little Whinging, which makes me think that almost certainly the owl that they sent went there, not number 12.
Right. And we actually do know what time they sent it, and it was at 7:55.
Right, exactly.
For an 8 o'clock court hearing.
Yes.
To a person who is on trial for who's on trial for doing underage magic. And you're right, they know his address. So how do they expect him to get there in 5 minutes without magic?
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Like, I not to defend them at all, but even if you were like, no, it's actually not that weird in the wizarding world to send something with like 5 minutes notice, because you can just teleport, you know?
Right.
You can just apparate and be like, oh, gotta go. I'm here. You know, but that's not the case.
Right. Yeah. No. So it's what am I trying to say here? Wholly and completely unfair and unjustified, and most likely there's a decent chance that they weren't even expecting he would show.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think they were absolutely doing this to catch them off guard, to catch Harry in yet another like pitfall where
Right.
now you didn't show up for the court case, so that's yet another strike against you.
That would be like being held in contempt of court.
Yeah,
Is
something
that
like that.
The right terminology there.
It's hard to know what their legal system is exactly like, since they clearly don't have like a judicial branch and a legislative branch and like an executive branch, because the head of the executive branch is now also the head judge of the judicial branch. So
Right, exactly.
there's
yes.
no checks and balances here.
Major conflict of interest.
Yeah, and there's not going to be any like right to attorney or anything like that.
No, no.
There's no due process happening.
Although Dumbledore's going to do his darndest to lay all that out.
Yes.
So if nothing else, Dumbledore has studied like Muggle lawyers.
He's
something.
studied like rhetoric and logic, I think.
Yeah, there you go. That's right. So anyway, Harry walks in. It says that his footsteps echoed loudly as he walked across the stone floor. When he sat gingerly on the edge of the chair, the chains clinked rather threateningly, but did not bind him. This is going to be in contrast to what we witnessed with Igor Karkaroff when he sits down. But Ludo Bagman, on the other hand, does not have the chains enclose him or anything.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, I feel like when we talked about this before, maybe we sort of had like difference of opinion a little bit, but like my thought there was that like the chair is capable of being like a little bit of like a lie detector or guilt detector.
Right.
Like it is determining the danger of the occupant of the chair. And therefore like, with Igor, it's sort of like, oh yeah, we need to bind this guy to the chair.
We got to bind this guy.
With Ludo, it's like he's kind of like a buffoon. He sort of crossed the line, but like not really like with intent.
Right.
And then obviously here with Harry, like even the chains clinking threateningly could potentially be reaction to the Horcrux inside of him.
It could be like that's the judging, like the sorting hat or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So I don't know if you have any other thoughts on that, but I think it's interesting that they move, but they don't bind him.
I know. Yeah, we only have like 3 occasions where people are sitting in this chair. I think. Well, I don't remember. Mary Cattermole sits in this chair, doesn't she? I don't remember if she's bound by them or not.
It would seem so surprising if she was.
It would seem surprising. Of the ones we've encountered so far, the only difference is that Igor is coming from Azkaban, so he's like already been convicted.
That's
whereas
true.
Ludo is on trial to be convicted, so that could potentially be the difference. Like, oh yeah, if you've already been convicted, we clearly need to restrain you, kind of thing. And then Harry, but it does clink, and it's like, why does it clink? Unless like they're, I don't know. Maybe they're trying to circumvent him. Maybe like Umbridge wants it to bind him. And it's like the chair's like, well, he's not convicted, so I can't. But
right. Yes, like almost as if like Umbridge like instructed it to bind him, and the chair was like, no.
Yeah, right.
Like, I mean, I see what you're after, but no, I'm not doing it.
Right. Yeah. This is against my earlier programming. Syntax error 404.
Right.
Do not respond.
But what I love about like a sentiment like that is that like the magic is like unwilling to play by like someone like Umbridge's or Fudge's game. Yeah. And it's sort of like, I'm not doing it.
It's like when she can't get into the headmaster's office.
It's exactly like that. It's like, you can't control me. Like I'm not under your jurisdiction. Right. I don't respond to anybody. I'm a door.
I'm a door.
I'm a chair.
I'm a door and I'm part of the castle. And you can barge in here all you want and send people away, but I don't recognize you as the headmaster of the school. So tough luck.
There we go. Yep. So then it says there were about 50 of them. And as far as he could see, wearing plum-colored robes, which is a good piece of trivia there, because plum is not the color I would pluck out of my brain.
Nope. You don't pluck plums?
I don't pluck plums. Yeah. No, I don't. I didn't see that one coming. There's an elaborately worked silver W on the left-hand side of the chest, and all of them were staring down their noses at him, some with very austere expressions, others of frank curiosity, to which my little note here is, I mean, it is Harry Potter after all.
I know. Is that Harry Potter?
It's like, well, howdy.
You must be like, the thing about this is all 50 of these people are already there and waiting, meaning that like they all must have been told about the change as well.
True.
Which, can you imagine if you're like, because not everyone there is like on Fudge's side. They don't entirely like get what Fudge is doing all the time. Like he's trying to like have everyone show up and be like, we are against you, even though everyone there is not like in on his plan.
Right.
He just assumes they will follow his lead, but they don't. So I can only imagine them waking up and being like, what? Oh, I have to come in early and in the plum robes? What? For what? Underage magic? What is going on?
Honey, where's my plum-colored robes?
Why do you need them?
That's an Incredibles reference.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then we get a couple of other descriptions of the people that are present, both of whom are going to be very important as the chapter unfolds. There is a broad, square-jawed witch with very short gray hair. On Fudge's left, she wore a monocle and looked forbidding, although this is actually going to be more of a friendly as the chapter unfolds. On Fudge's right was another witch, but she was sitting so far back on the bench that her face was in shadow.
Oh, ominous.
Yes, this is definitely Umbridge, and the introduction there is no mistake. It is immediately meant to tell you that this is a shadowy figure.
This is a bad person, and she is going to prove it hard.
She is.
Yes. So Fudge starts out, and every single thing Fudge is going to do, he is not trying to throw Harry any bones. He has basically already concluded that Harry is guilty. There's no way around it, and this is merely a formality that they're even holding trial.
Yes. Yep. Exactly. So it says, the accused being present. Finally, let us begin. Are you ready? And Harry's just sort of like, I guess so. Yeah. Yes, sir. And then Ron's brother Percy was sitting at the very end of the bench. Harry looked at Percy expecting some kind of recognition from him, but none came. Percy's eyes behind his horn-rimmed glasses were fixed on his parchment, a quill poised in his hand.
Man, Percy is in deep.
Percy is in deep. And there's really two key ways to examine what Percy is up to as this chapter unfolds. And as we've alluded to in the past, we always feel like there's a possibility that Percy is under the Imperious Curse here. There will notably be several occasions in this chapter where like Fudge will specifically give Percy a command, almost like we need a chair, Percy, get him a chair. We need this, Percy, do this.
Right.
Which would certainly kind of feel in line with that. And Percy doesn't seem to be operating of really his own accord in any way. Like he's always been insufferable, but like this is like a whole different level.
I know, like even this, like Harry even trying to like make eye contact with him, and he's like no sign. He like doesn't look up, just focused on his job at the paper, like not like determinedly not making eye contact with Harry, just like this is what I was told to do, automaton,
Right. But then on the flip side, the other possibility here is that what Percy is doing is following Dumbledore's own advice, because if there's one other person in the room who will also not make eye contact with Harry, it's Dumbledore.
Right.
And it's going to be to Harry's dismay that Dumbledore will arrive at his defense, argue his case, win his case, and still not speak to him, all out of fear of the possibility that Voldemort will have the access through his connection with Harry to ultimately to attack Dumbledore.
Right.
Which is the reason that he's keeping such extraordinary distance from him. But we know that Dumbledore will also have not probably been informed of, well, he claims that he just arrives 3 hours early to defend Harry. And so some question could be, who tipped him off? And so if Percy is operating as a mole within the Ministry of Magic, then he could come across as like Fudge's absolute henchman, whatever, at considerable risk and at the, at the cost of enraging his entire family.
Oh yeah.
It would make Percy more heroic.
It would, especially right here. I think eventually, like at some point he would have to be acting of his own accord because of his whole admission of guilt. Like when he comes to talk to Fred at the end,
right?
Like at some point he must like either be under the Imperious Curse or be doing it of his own accord. But I love the idea that maybe he's like very deep undercover right now, and it's like I can't make contact with Harry because I cannot like. If I show even a sign of recognition, it might give me up or something.
Right.
Like everything. Like, because this would be the sort of thing that even the Weasleys couldn't know about,
Yeah.
If, like Dumbledore had to be like, look, this is going to be hard. Your whole family's going to be mad at you and you're just going to have to like fight them on principle. But I need someone very on the inside,
and he would be. Yeah. And it would, and in that way, it would both fit perfectly with where Percy was, his trajectory coming out of Hogwarts anyway.
Right.
12 OWLs. He's immediately working for Crouch Senior. Like he's done. Well, I can't say he's done a great job because obviously he's overlooked the fact that Crouch Senior wasn't Crouch Senior for most of all of last year. But from Dumbledore's perspective, this is somebody who seems extremely strategically positioned to do exactly what we need Percy to do, which is be an informant.
Right.
So you can look at it two different ways. It doesn't really change anything either way. And eventually we know that Percy will use the specific phrasing that he's been coming out of it for a while.
Right.
And it was like hard to get out of the system once he was so deeply enraptured in it. So,
Right.
Whether that's the shine kind of coming off the apple, as they say, as he gets too far along, or otherwise is unclear.
Yeah, but if you really want to throw Percy a bone here, who knows? Maybe he's the reason Dumbledore knew to show up 3 hours early by happy accident.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep. Who knows? In any case, we're about to start getting a lot of middle names for everybody, including Harry James Potter, and this is the first time we learn Harry's middle name in Book 5.
Pretty unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yes. And I mean, this is, I feel like we use it so often because we love going over the top formal, like Harry James Potter.
Yes.
Or Harold James Potter.
James Potter.
As we occasionally like to say. But you're right. Yeah. It's shocking to know that this is the first time that we're learning this piece of information. But Order of the Phoenix also has another through line, which is definitely the kind of like ambiguous relationship, whether Sirius is being Harry's best friend or godfather or what, but aligning him just a little bit more with James and in that position, we're getting a little bit more of that.
Absolutely makes him seem like he's more his father,
That's right. That's right.
Yes. And then we're also going to learn Fudge's middle name, Cornelius Oswald Fudge. And his middle name, I think, is no accident either. Definitely given the themes of the book and when this book came out. For one, if you're an American reader, the name Oswald probably brings up the name Lee Harvey Oswald in your brain. That's who assassinated JFK.
Right.
And then if you were in the UK when this book came out, there was, I don't know his full name, but there was an Oswald at the time who was like the head of the fascist party.
Yeah. So certainly the selection of the name Oswald is supposed to sort of be like very like historically informed, basically, like to let you know as well that like Fudge is not a good guy.
Certainly not in this book.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And then you've got the Amelia Susan Bones, head of the Department of Magical Law Enforcement. And
Susan Bones, we know her because her niece is going to be at Hogwarts.
Yes. Susan Bones.
Susan Bones.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then, of course, Dolores Jane Umbridge,
the senior undersecretary to the minister. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That is a title that I am very bad at remembering.
Oh my gosh. Senior undersecretary to the minister. Yeah.
I think it's because senior and then immediately followed by under.
Right.
Like they feel opposing.
Like undersecretary seems like a low position, but senior makes it good. So it's like, but she's clearly like also Fudge's right-hand woman, it seems like.
Yes.
Yeah. But then, like, do you suppose, I'm just thinking about this on the spot, since there's so many middle names being dropped, and some of them seem to have significance here, that Jane is her, like, real middle name?
Well, are you asking, do I think Jane is her real middle name?
Right.
Versus what?
Versus, like, because she wants to be, like, the very, like conformist kind of person. And if you were to have like an unidentified like dead body or something, it's like John Doe, Jane Doe.
Right.
Like Jane is like in some ways like the go-to like John Smith, Jane Smith.
Right. Sure. Yes. Like it's got like a layer of just like uniformity. It's a little homogenous.
Right. Yes. Yeah. It's like not that I think Jane is like a homogenous name in general, but like in practice like this, you could classify it as like the name of the homogenous woman.
I understand what you mean completely.
What I mean? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, totally. Because like we also know that she's going to claim like a Selwyn like heritage so that she can sort of like better position herself as like a pureblood, which is just a complete fabrication.
Right.
So yeah, like if her middle name was like something that was like potentially more whimsical or off the beaten path, that would feel very like anti to Umbridge's whole position.
Right.
It's like she wants to be like as ingrained, as a part of as humanly possible.
And then on the flip side, you're going to get Jane, like the most down the middle name possible, followed by Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore.
That's exactly correct.
Right?
Yes. And oh my gosh, I definitely went through like a little bit of a deep dive on this, because we've made an entire video before about breaking down all of Dumbledore's various names.
Yes, we did.
And so Percival is obviously very interesting because it's his father's name first and foremost. So Percival Dumbledore is the the eldest of the family, the patriarch, if you will,
right? The
one that ultimately ended up in Azkaban for attacking those who bullied Albus's youngest sister, Ariana.
Yep.
And so that's, you got like a little bit of that piece of the equation as far as Dumbledore is concerned. Percival is also notably one of the Knights of the Round Table, and somebody who actively sought the Holy Grail.
The Holy Grail.
Yes, which obviously is what we would refer to as like the hunt.
The hunt,
for in Dumbledore's case, obviously for the Deathly Hallows.
And or Harry in some ways, if Harry is the Holy Grail.
Also that,
right.
yes, so that. And then you've got Wulfric, which has kind of got like a whole variety of dualities to it. Because if you refer to somebody as being like in a workplace, for example, like having the wolf persona, it usually means that they are a lone wolf. Like that is an actual characteristic of people you can like hire in your organizations.
Right.
And lone wolves are usually known for being extremely highly talented, sought after individuals who do not have a heavy allegiance to the organization that they work for.
Right.
They are like hired talent. They are fixers. They are skilled. They are like, that's it. But like, they don't bleed the colors of their team. They are them. Mm-hmm. They are good at what they do and they know it. But then on the flip side, wolves are also known for their pack-like behavior.
Right.
And so like to be regarded as like wolfish as far as Dumbledore is concerned is like Dumbledore in a lot of ways seems like a singularity, but then he's also like the head of the resistance. So you get a little bit of both sides.
Yeah, you get a little bit of both of those things there. Like, but he definitely does have allegiance.
Yes, he does. Yeah. He does. And so then I also found a reference to Wulfric of Hasselberry, which is a British historical figure who is somebody who grew up as like a priest of the church, but sort of also like with a degree of like wealth, and sort of had like maybe like a more pious perspective on things, but ultimately gives up like what of the day was the literal hunt. Like he was like a hunter. Gave up a literal hunt and became basically a small ranking figure in the church who lived in humble headquarters attached to the church, and basically pursued a life of holiness and performing miracles.
Wow. So you have Dumbledore then giving up the hunt for the Deathly Hallows and instead settling for the more holy Harry Potter.
That's exactly correct. And what you have to regard for somebody of Dumbledore's talent as probably a rather humble existence, being a headmaster versus being the Minister for Magic.
Right.
Or something much more high ranking, or even pursuing, the Deathly Hallows, as you mentioned. So, I know that's an excessive amount of breakdown.
No, that's all really good.
Yeah. I was really enjoying kind of doing some research on that.
Do you have anything for Brian?
Well, so Brian, I think is funny because to me, Brian feels so like humble in a different way, where it's like Brian, no offense to the Brians out there or anything, but like Brian almost to me feels like it reflects like his like empathy for muggles.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it's doing.
Well, because all of his other names are distinctly magical sounding.
Yeah.
Or at least have like an aura around them, whereas Brian feels like it is definitely the one that sticks out like a sore thumb.
Right.
So that's that. I don't have anything more profound than that assessment, and that's just my own opinion.
I do not either. I have no. Okay, I'm going to throw a real I don't know out there, something out there.
Okay,
and we'll see if it takes if anyone in the audience has any thoughts on it. But it occurs to me that if like the way the name is framed, Albus Percival Wulfric Brian, like Percival and Brian are like the two middle names. Then right, they're like the second and fourth ones. And as this is a book that was written in the UK, is there any chance this is like a Monty Python joke at all? Wherein Monty Python and the Holy Grail is about the Knights of the Round Table looking for the Holy Grail or whatever. Right. So you'd have like Percival in there. And then another one of the movies is Life of Brian, where I think it's like about like Jesus's brother or something.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Brian Christ or something.
That's really funny.
Right.
Okay. I could totally see it. Yeah. That's very funny. And then I think the other small detail there is that ultimately when we see the prophecy, it's going to say that the prophecy was delivered by ST to APWBD.
Right.
Which I think if it was just like from Sybil Trelawney ST to AD, like it'd be easy to suss out.
It'd be so obvious
in just a moment. So the real question is like, when you've read another, let's see, we're on page 139 right now. Let's just call it 600 more pages. Like, are you really thinking about this moment?
Almost certainly the real reason all the middle names are here is for that exact labeling of the prophecy later on.
Exactly. Yeah. To give you just a few more chapters of mystery, because we'll find out in this book that Trelawney delivered the prophecy to Dumbledore. Like,
right.
It will be revealed.
Yeah.
But in that moment, those letters can just seem like nothingness.
Right. You'll be like, what on earth is this code they've got going? And it says Harry's name? Yeah, to Dark Lord and Harry Potter ?
Right. Yes. So I think that's probably the other major reason that we end up getting that. So
yeah.
Anyway, a little bit of a deep dive into Dumbledore's full name.
There you go. You're welcome, everybody.
Always good trivia there too. Yeah.
And speaking of Dumbledore, here he comes into the room wearing his midnight blue robes. Yay.
And a perfectly calm expression.
Perfectly calm. So like fuming.
Yeah, I crossed that out and wrote, so absolutely raging.
Yeah, absolutely.
His long silver beard and hair gleamed in the torchlight as he drew level with Harry and looked up at Fudge through the half-moon spectacles that rested halfway down his very crooked nose.
All right, now I'm only going to bring this up because I thought about it too much.
Okay, go ahead.
But you have to think about it like this, okay? If you're trying to imagine the room that they're in, if Dumbledore is looking up at Fudge, because they're sitting way above him, right? And if he is looking up at him through his half-moon spectacles, this is more of a power move, I think, than you're thinking of. It is like really mocking Fudge's decision to be way up on a high place.
Yes.
Because what really has to happen here, if Dumbledore is truly looking through the half-moon spectacles, is that like if you're looking at me or Ben right now, like our glasses, that means you basically cut them in half.
Right.
So in order to look up and through them, and especially they're resting down his nose, right? They're like even further down. You are staring straight up. It is like a comical leaning back of the head that needs to be done to look at Fudge. It's just like, oh, hello, Cornelius.
Yeah. Right. Like this should be like a funny scene to witness.
Yes, it should.
It should, like everything about Fudge's decisions here should be mud on his own face.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
I think it is. He's like finding a way to look down at him from below.
Yeah, yes, that's so well said. That's so well said. And then it says the members of the Wizengamot were muttering. All eyes were now on Dumbledore. Some looked annoyed. I crossed that out and wrote Umbridge looked annoyed. Others slightly frightened. Two elderly witches in the back row, however, raised their hands and waved in welcome. Even that is just sort of like it goes to show like how little Fudge has perfect control. Like as much as it may be the case that you're trying to run mud all over the good Dumbledore name as far as the rest of the wizarding world is concerned, it's like you're not going to convince everyone. Too many people are going to know of the goodness to be sold on a couple of news articles. Right.
Like 3 or 2 months of articles is not going to undo like 50 years of generosity and like wisdom that they've come to know from Dumbledore.
Exactly.
Yep. Not for everyone. Obviously, it is working on some people.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. But yeah, then we get a powerful emotion had risen in Harry's chest at the sight of Dumbledore, a fortified, hopeful feeling, rather like that of Phoenix Song.
More of this.
Yeah.
So there's the ever running theory that in death Dumbledore's become phoenixes, and now Dumbledore Dumbledore's mere appearance is causing that same emotion that when Fawkes sings, Harry feels. It's the same emotion when his wands were locked with Voldemort in the graveyard. It's like he can hear a song, which is I think coming from the tail feathers and the two wands, but it's like giving him that calming sense as well. And it's like anytime Dumbledore's around, like the effects of the Phoenix are like in place.
Yeah, and I mean it all funnels into the same thing. Like it's one of those just sort of like left hanging strands from the Fantastic Beasts series, but they clearly were painting a very real connection between the family of Dumbledores and that of Phoenixes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so unfortunate that we just didn't get to see the end of it, because like it feels like lore that could have been so fun to know. Like who is the true identity of Fawkes? Is it possible that like we're seeing, like the Phoenix is it the Phoenix that arrived to Aurelius in a time of need? Is that Phoenix somehow, I don't know. Like it's also messy when it comes to Fantastic Beasts. It really took a bunch of what could be incredible plot lines and put them in places that are just so hard to follow.
Yeah.
That a lot of it doesn't end up like working out the way that we would hope
Nope.
for. But either which way, I firmly believe that the relationship between Dumbledore's and Phoenix's is far tighter than we ever get a proper informal explanation for.
Yeah, and so far it seems like Fantastic Beasts is just like dead in the water. But you know what?
No pun intended.
No pun intended. Oh God, yeah, that's
Sorry,
a really bad
that was a
pun.
bad joke.
That's
yeah.
not a Cedric joke.
No.
That's a dead baby.
No, well, it's return Great Avenger with wings from the water.
With wings from the water.
Is
so.
what I was.
Right,
We were specifically talking about the Phoenixes. So.
Yeah.
Right.
So this would be the other theory about that Phoenix is that it's not Fawkes, that maybe but is instead the baby Corvus Lestrange, who was switched at sea and then rose per the prophecy as the Phoenix to the baby he was switched with.
Right.
Boom.
Right.
Ha. Did it. There we go. Saved that joke. Whew, goodness me.
Yes. We just need an explanation. That's all.
Here's the only thing you can if you want to throw, I'll throw you a hopeful bone for the Fantastic Beasts movies, is that the movies are supposed to end in 1945 and they started in 1926, and 3 movies in it was 1929 or something.
I don't even think it was that far. I think it was 28.
Yeah. So here's what we're doing. We're letting all the characters age in real time.
That's right.
Right. We got to let them age. And then when there's 15 years of time to play with,
This is great.
Exactly. When you see him again, you're like, man, the special effects are great. And you'd be like, it's not even special.
Not even special. They literally waited for everyone to get older.
Yeah.
Good on them.
They made a whole HBO series, and they're like, you know what? Now we finish Fantastic Beasts.
Right.
Yeah.
That's method, people.
That's how you do it.
Anyway.
Eddie Redmayne's like, you want to be Newt Scamander again? Okay.
Well, Eddie Redmayne as Newt Scamander is like the shining light from the series.
Love it.
Yeah, Eddie Redmayne was not the problem.
No, he was not.
Newt was not the problem.
The
problem was that we started telling the story of Dumbledore instead of the story of Newt Scamander.
That's all anyone cared about.
And I wanted more of him and
Tina.
Yeah, just as much of that as humanly possible. We could just have a rom-com that's just those two playing those characters and raising mules.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
I'm down for it.
Yeah.
Give us more Newt and Tina. We're gonna get stuck.
We're way off track. Don't ask us for our advice. Okay, here we go. But yeah, so then Fudge is looking down at Dumbledore, thoroughly disconcerted. It says, yes, you got our message that the time and place of the hearing had been changed then. And Dumbledore's like, I must have missed it. However, due to a lucky mistake, I arrived at the ministry 3 hours early, so no harm done.
Oh, it's so funny. And everything Dumbledore says in this chapter is so carefully phrased. So even the no harm done, it's he's just finishing. It's just a polite sentence, but there is the undercurrent of when you say no harm done, it kind of suggests that harm was intended.
It absolutely does. Yeah. Yes. It's I understand you intended to cause harm. However, you have failed in that mission because I arrived 3 hours early.
Exactly. Yeah. And the other thing, everything he's going to do is going to be in just absolute defiance to what the ministry is trying to do. So Next is when Fudge is going to tell Percy to go get a chair, and Dumbledore says, "Oh, not to worry," and he is going to give a flick of his wand and have a squashy chintz armchair appear out of nowhere. So, like, they're trying to have this big, scary room that is intimidating, and Dumbledore is like, "Hey, look, a lazy boy."
Hey, no problem.
Let me get comfortable for you.
Exactly. I also really like this as well because later McGonagall will also summon a chair. It'll say, Professor McGonagall, this is page 469, so all the way forward in chapter 22. Professor McGonagall pulled out her wand from her pocket and waved it. 3 chairs appeared out of thin air, straight-backed and wooden, quite unlike the comfortable chintz armchairs that Dumbledore conjured back at Harry's hearing. So it does make me wonder whether or not, like, if you are doing a brand of summoning magic, if you are like what you will deliver is like a representation of your own personality.
That, I mean, it does feel like that. That does feel like more like McGonagall. And then I suppose it's not the exact same thing, but Slughorn transfigures himself into a chair.
Also true.
Also quite squashy, which
Also
does seem like his style.
Yes. Yeah. Just was putting the finishing touches on the upholstery as you walked in.
Yeah, right. That's such a fun scene.
It is.
Oh, I love Slughorn. He's a very interesting character.
Quite jovial.
Yes, quite jovial. Anyway, Fudge is going to continue. So then the charges. Yes. So Dumbledore's already flustered him just by showing up at all, but he has got a whole list of extremely trumped up charges here for Harry. The charges against the accused are as follows: that he did knowingly, deliberately, and in full awareness of illegality of his actions, having received a previous written warning from the Ministry of Magic on similar charge, produce a Patronus charm on a Muggle-inhabited area in the presence of a Muggle on August the 2nd at 9:23, which continues, an offense, it goes on and on and on. He's like, it's very wordy, very bureaucratic.
Yes, it absolutely is. And it's like, I mean, there's a couple of details there that are just like, worth keeping in mind, which is that, like, he's like, you did it in a Muggle-inhabited area in the presence of a Muggle, but that Muggle happens to be his own cousin who already knows he's a wizard.
Right, yeah. So it's like, what's there? Again, no harm done, really, right?
Precisely.
Yeah.
Yes. And then he's going to go through with a line of questioning that is all very... It is meant to basically make Harry look as bad as humanly possible and not give him any opportunity to say anything.
Right.
So it's supposed to paint the worst possible picture. So it's like, you are Harry James Potter of this location? Yes, Harry said. You received an official warning from the Ministry of Magic for using illegal magic 3 years ago, did you not? Yes, but. And you conjured a Patronus on the night of the 2nd of August? Yes, but. Knowing that you are not permitted to use magic outside of school while you are under the age of 17? Yes, but. Knowing that you are in an area full of Muggles? Yes, but. And it's just like, oh my gosh. I literally wrote, this kills me. Like,
it is.
It was infuriating to read aloud just now. Like, it's like
so frustrating because, like, almost everything he says has such an obvious rebuttal to it.
It does.
Yeah,
it's like you're not asking for any of the nuance.
I know. It's like, yeah, you did magic 3 years ago, and it's like, well, that wasn't me. That was the house elf. And it's like, yes, and I did produce a Patronus, but it's because there were Dementors, and yes, there were Muggles, but it was my cousin who knows about magic, and we were both about to die. So, like, yes.
Right, exactly, yeah. And then what I think is really funny too is that, like, Madame Bones, who again we were introduced to in sort of this, like, not exactly like what's a good way to describe it? Like, not like the most welcoming way that we were introduced to Madame Bones. So, like, with the big square jaw and the monocle and everything, it's sort of like an unusual like witch to imagine. Like, it doesn't sound someone who's going to be friendly, especially sitting right there at Fudge's left or whatever. And so then Madame Bones obviously cuts in, and she's going to do the same thing, and it's going to sound accusatory until it doesn't. So it's like, you produced a fully fledged Patronus? Yes, said Harry, because a corporeal Patronus? What? Said Harry. Your Patronus had a clearly defined form. I mean to say it was more than vapor or smoke. Yes, said Harry, feeling both impatient and slightly desperate. It's a stag. It's always a stag. Always? Yeah. You've produced a Patronus before now? Yes, said Harry. And you are 15 years old? Yes. And you learned this at school? Yes, Professor Lupin taught me. Impressive!
It's like no one's letting him get a word in edgewise, whether they're impressed with him or unimpressed with him.
Yes, like all Harry's been able to say so far is yes.
Yeah. But like you gotta love, and I love that he is able to like throw Lupin like a little nod over there, like, oh yeah, Professor Lupin, he taught me, because already you'll eventually learn that like Umbridge hates werewolves and half-breeds and stuff like that. So like this, like how impressed Amelia Bones is that Harry can produce a Patronus because a werewolf taught him how to do it, like rubs her the wrong way.
Oh, 100%. Yes, absolutely. And I will actually love later on in the series, Umbridge will be like ticking off all of the former Defense Against the Dark Arts professors that they've had. And Dean Thomas, of all people, will chime in and say that Lupin was the best DA professor they ever had.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, Dean.
Yeah, Dean.
I see what Ginny sees in you.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I get it. I mean, like, you're not Harry Potter, but no one
Right,
knows.
exactly. I mean,
he's the chosen one.
Yes, I'm the chosen one.
He's rather singular in nature, but either way.
Do you think Madam Bones here is just like, oh my goodness, I need to write to my niece Susan and be like, you heard of this Harry Potter kid?
That's exactly right. Yeah,
Exactly right, yeah.
I think at this point in time, she is now shipping Susan and Harry.
Susan and Harry, yeah.
Sherry.
Harry Bones.
Who's in?
Yeah.
I like Harry Bones.
Harry Bones.
It's so uncomfy.
It is uncomfortable. No one wants hair on bones.
No,
I don't think so.
But of course, despite the fact that she is impressed with Harry, she doesn't ask any other questions like, why did you need to learn a Patronus 2 years ago from your teacher, Lupin? Did you fight Dementors then too? You did? Like, why were there Dementors at school? Oh, yes, because Sirius Black was on the loose. This all makes sense now. We understand and know why he can do this.
Right, exactly. But so it ends up being Percy's sanctimonious little nod that goaded Harry into speech. I did it because of the Dementors, he said loudly. And Madam Bones is going to be like genuinely surprised. She's like, what? Dementors? What? And it's like, I cannot believe they don't already know this part of it. Like they know that Harry performed exactly a Patronus charm and that Dudley was there. Like, how do they know Dudley was there but don't know the Dementors were there?
It is extremely surprising. Yeah, it's like whatever tracking software they use is good enough to know so much of the information, but not all of the information.
Right.
Yeah. So it really is remarkable how little has made it out, and also how little investigation they've done at all.
I know.
Like there hasn't been any discovery in this case.
No, there hasn't. I mean, even Madam Bones finding out about the Patronus here in the trial, it's like she didn't even have like a file ahead of time, even though that's the magic he's on trial for. Right.
Yes. Yeah. So, so her response is exactly that. It's like, Dementors, what do you mean, boy? And Harry's like, well, I mean, there were 2 Dementors down the alleyway and they went for me and my cousin. And Fudge is just like, yes, I thought we'd be hearing something like this. And Madam Bones is still just sort of like, Dementors and little whinging. Like, I don't understand. And Fudge is just going to be like, don't you, Amelia? Said Fudge, still smirking. Let me explain. He's been thinking it through and decided Dementors would make a nice little cover story. Very nice indeed. Muggles can't see Dementors, can they, boy? Highly convenient. So it's just your word and no witnesses.
Yeah, to which I'm sure Harry is down there like, it was actually super inconvenient that Dementor showed up.
Yeah, it was sort of a huge problem. It's why I'm here.
Right now.
Ruined several weeks of my summer break.
Right.
Also, we could have brought Dudley in, and Dudley could have explained to you what he experienced, because Dudley actually, to his credit, gives a remarkably succinct explanation.
I know.
When he is attacked by the Dementors. But y'all want to take a quick pause right there to give a huge thank you to today's sponsor, MasterClass. It's like taking a break from a masterclass to hear about MasterClass. That's fun, right? Well, rhetorical question, because it is. And aside from Harry Potter, I'm also personally a huge fan of Formula One racing. And even if you're not, but you like any other sport, you can only imagine my excitement when I saw that 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton had his own masterclass on the winning mindset. And I'm not sure how to best describe how these classes feel. It's like getting to be in the room with someone you just look up to so much, blended with a highly curated lesson in their applicable topic. Like, think about your favorite teachers or professors. Then imagine they are also capable of driving 200 miles per hour on a razor's edge and want to share their experiences with you. Like, I'm someone who's always wanted a capital M mentor in my life, and MasterClass delivers this kind of relationship with minds and insight that would otherwise just be unattainable. And with plans starting at $10 a month, billed annually, you get unlimited access to over 200 plus classes taught by the world's best business leaders, writers, chefs, and more. And right now, our listeners get an additional 15% off any annual membership at masterclass.com/Griffin. Again, that's 15% off at masterclass.com/Griffin. One last time for safety, masterclass.com/Griffin. Links are in all of the obvious spots / description down below. So yeah, even like when Dudley does explain it, he's like, tripped, said Dudley shakily, and then horrible, cold, really cold, felt as if you'd never be happy again, Harry supplied tonelessly. Yes, Dudley whispered, still trembling. Yeah. So anyway, Dudley would have been great.
Yeah, would have been
here.
a good witness. I can't imagine the Dursleys ever letting him do that.
No, certainly not. But, but still.
But if only, it feels like something Dumbledore could have wangled, you know?
That's right.
Yeah.
As Fudge likes to say.
If he can wangle it. But I love Fudge's idea here too, that it's like, what does he think he cast the Patronus for? Like, just for fun? Like, you know?
Right. Like, does he just think he's like showing off? Because there's a couple of other things that are happening here as well, which is that Fudge does not, like, as far as Fudge is concerned, there's no reason for Dementors to have left Azkaban for any reason whatsoever, let alone be like in a highly Muggle occupied area.
Right.
And what he doesn't know is that the person sitting directly next to him is the one who made this assignment for these two Dementors.
Right.
And so you're right. Like, it's like Fudge is sort of like baffled. Like, why would this happen? This wouldn't happen.
Right. Because we'd have record of it.
Because we would have record of it.
Exactly.
So I'm sure it does sound like why would you cast a Patronus?
Right.
Like, what are you doing? Like, that's such a, there's no reason if you were nowhere near a Dementor, and I have no reason to believe you were anywhere near a Dementor.
Right. But then you get like another bit of how the wizard court goes, and it's like highly convenient. So it's just your word and no witnesses. And of course they will have a witness, but it's like, you'll like, if you're paying attention, like there's no like swearing in, there's no like oath that you would, typically expect one to take when they go to court or something, that it's like, you must, like, I swear to tell the truth, like on, like a holy text or something or whatever. Like,
exactly.
You know, like, which is like, you can take me at my word, I promise, or
right.
whatever, I'm sure people lie at court and stuff, but like, it's illegal to do that. So,
right. Yeah. So at the very least, you should be able to assume an amount of belief, but yeah, I follow your meaning there. And then I also think it's interesting because Fudge is going to be like, I'm sorry to interrupt what I'm sure would have been a very well rehearsed story. And it's like, it's even funny that I think he's like accusing Harry of having a well rehearsed story, because his line of questioning just on the previous page with like all the yes questions was also almost certainly rehearsed.
Absolutely, it's rehearsed. It's like he knows exactly what he wants to act, and he wants to do it quick so that no one can get in the way, and that will be that.
Right.
Yes.
So then we get like what is actually both a wonderful and terrible thing that happens. Dumbledore cleared his throat. The Wizengamot fell silent again.
Oh yeah, circle that line of text.
Yeah. So this one's rather unfortunate because, as you all know, there's a very distinctive clearage of throat that will continue to show up in this particular book, and I can't help but feel like Umbridge is just taking cues from the ways in which Dumbledore is able to own the room.
Yeah.
So Dumbledore is clearly like able, he commands so much respect that this small gesture does gain the attention and the quiet of everybody in the room. Whereas like Umbridge will continue to do like the like,
right.
And it's just like,
she's going to do it all wrong. She's going to try and borrow as many of Dumbledore's tricks and ideas as she can, because in her mind, she is just a great a witch as he is wizard.
Right.
And there's no reason anyone should see it any differently or not give her the exact same amount of respect, if not more, quite frankly.
Quite frankly, yes. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, but so pay attention to all of the ideas and like loopholes and problems Dumbledore is going to point out, because she is going to make it her goal to copy all the things he does and then correct all of the things that he points out as current issues.
That's exactly correct.
Yeah.
Yep. So basically what Dumbledore is clearing his throat to do, though, is to say, we do, in fact, have a witness to the presence of Dementors in that alleyway. He said, other than Dudley Dursley, I mean.
Yeah, so Fudge is going to continue to be real flustered here. He's like, we haven't got time to listen to more taradiddles, I'm afraid. And it's like, Fudge, why did you schedule it 3 hours earlier than expected and call 50 people here if not to do it right? You
Exactly,
know?
yes.
Exactly.
And that's exactly what Dumbledore's going to hit him with. He says, I may be wrong, said Dumbledore pleasantly, but I am sure that under the Wisingham Charter of Rights, the accused has the right to present witnesses for his or her case. Isn't that the policy of the Department of Magical Law Enforcement, Madam Bones? He continued, addressing the witch in the monocle. True, said Madam Bones, perfectly true.
Right. It's like the Dumbledore is like using this trick against Fudge. He's like, look, if you want to hold a whole Wisingham trial, then great news. I know the whole rule book, so let's do it. You know, maybe if you just like questioned him in Amelia Bones' office, maybe you wouldn't have been able to, allow for witnesses and stuff like that. It would have just been questions and what. But as we're all here,
may as well do it right.
May as well do it. I don't think everyone got out of bed early to do nothing.
Right. Yep. So then Fudge has no choice because he's pinned against the wall and he says, oh, very well. Where is this person? And Dumbledore's like, I brought her with me. She's just outside the door. Should I? And then Fudge is going to go, no, Weasley, you go. And Percy, who got up at once, hurried down the stone steps from the judge's balcony and hastened past Dumbledore and Harry without glancing at them. So again, kind of keeping in tune with that not making eye contact situation.
But also in tune with the took a direct order at no questions asked and just followed it mindlessly.
Sadly, it could literally be both.
He could, yes.
Yeah. So then Mrs. Figg enters the room looking more scared and batty than ever, and Harry wished that she had thought to change out of her carpet slippers.
Good Lord, me too. Although bear in mind, Harry's just wearing a t-shirt to court today.
It's not a very formal occasion.
Let's
just keep that, yeah. and then again, we got to keep up with all the formalities. Full name, said Fudge loudly. Arabella Doreen Figg.
Doreen,
a little piece of trivia there. What is Mrs. Figg's middle name?
Yeah. Right.
And who exactly are you, said Fudge in a bored and lofty voice. Oh, I'm a resident of Little Whinging, close to where Harry Potter lives, said Mrs. Figg. We have no record of any witch or wizard living in Little Whinging other than Harry Potter, said Madam Bones at once. That situation has always been closely monitored, given past events.
Yeah. It's like, well, that's very interesting, isn't it?
This is even like one of those questions where like we've always been frustrated with like the trace, and it almost makes you wonder if like the trace around Harry is far more sensitive and specific than it is anywhere else.
Right. Or at least like heavily monitored in a way the other security cameras are like, yeah, they're there, but like we don't really look at aisle 43, you know?
Right. Yeah. Like who's going to steal detergent?
Right. Yeah. You can't fit that in your pocket. Come on.
Exactly. We're fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Mrs. Figg clarifies that she is a squib, so she wouldn't be registered.
Yeah, that makes you wonder if like that's specifically why Dumbledore has a squib person stationed there, is that so the Ministry will not be aware of his own personal spying.
Exactly. And so it's like, I mean, it would fit very nicely. It's like in the same way that the Ministry closely monitors it, so does Dumbledore. And we know that Mrs. Figg, of all people, is a former member of the original Order of the Phoenix. And therefore, it would make perfect sense that when Harry is left with the Dursleys all those years ago, that Dumbledore may have actually, because like Mrs. Figg doesn't sound like the kind of person who could afford to live on the same street as the Dursleys.
Right.
Like Vernon, for all of his faults, seems like a fairly reasonable drill salesman. You know, like he's very committed to his work. He's very proud of his work. He's got his well-manicured lawn and his fancy car that costs more than everyone else's. Like, you know, you figure these things. You figure the kind of neighborhood. This is the type of situation where, like, again, to use the word homogenous, it's like that's a lot of what those neighborhoods end up having is people of very similar income class levels doing very similar like income class jobs.
Right.
And they're all sort of like in the exact same like beat and stage of life. Like Mrs. Figg is a bit of an outlier by comparison, being like the batty old Catwoman,
right,
down the street.
Yes, she absolutely is. And then you get a little bit of like Fudge is going to start like imitating like Voldemort a little bit in a bunch of different ways in this chapter. So like one of the first things he says is, "A squib, eh? We'll be checking that. You'll leave details of your parentage with my assistant Weasley." And if you just fast forward to Deathly Hallows, they are doing this like they're checking on her parentage right now to like for the sake of this case, but in Deathly Hallows, they'll be doing it. It'll be mandatory for squibs and Muggleborns to like reveal their parentage,
exactly,
and stuff. So
yep.
This is sort of like the early signs of what is to come.
Right, that's exactly correct.
Yes.
Then you get a question that I think Mrs. Figg may lie to. It says, let's see here, a squib, eh? We'll be checking that. Incidentally, can squibs see Dementors? He added, looking left and right along the bench where he sat. And Mrs. Figg is going to say, yes, we can. And I don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit torn because, like, for all intents and purposes, like Hermione is a Muggle-born witch. And therefore, she has all of the abilities of a witch. Like,
right.
She is magical.
Right.
But then you've also got, like, the same has got to be true in reverse. Like, for all intents and purposes, if you're a squib, then you're, like, a witch and wizard born Muggle.
Right.
Like, like, I don't see any reason. You're probably more privy to the wizarding world due to your exposure via your parents, by the very nature of what a squib is defined by.
Right.
Which is that you're born to wizarding heritage.
Right.
And so to me, I'm like, there's no reason why a squib would be discernible from a Muggle at all.
I mean, it does seem like it would be the case that they shouldn't be, that they should effectively be the exact same. And I think like functionally and in like 99% of cases, it seems like that must be true. But it's like, I guess what they're saying in this chapter is that like squib does not equal Muggle. Like there is like some small difference. And it's like, it's hard to tell because there's two things she's going to say. One, which makes you think, no, she didn't see it. She's the one rehearsing something here.
Right.
And then one that's like, oh, wait. No, that's pretty spot on. So first she's going to say, I heard of the serpents down the alleyway between Magnolia Crescent and Wisteria Walk. On approaching the mouth of the alleyway, I saw Dementors running. And Madam Bones is going to be like, wait a minute, Dementors don't run, they glide. And she's like, that's what I meant to say, sorry. Gliding. But then, so that makes it seem like Dumbledore was like, all right, here's what you say. You saw a Dementor gliding down the alleyway, all right? And she's like, right, okay, Dementors, they're like big hoods, and there's, okay, right, okay. Okay, I saw a Dementor, it was running down the alleyway, so gliding. But then on the next page, she says, yes, I felt them. Everything went cold, and this was a warm summer's night, mark you, and I felt as though all happiness had gone from the world, and I remembered dreadful things, which, okay, I suppose to be fair, Dudley felt all those things too, even though he couldn't see them.
That would be my thought.
Yeah.
Is that like, yeah, Dudley is definitely affected by them, even if he wasn't able to see them.
Even if he wasn't able to see them. But she does describe what happens too. It said one of the boys had fallen, the other was backing away, trying to repel the Dementor. That was Harry. He tried twice to produce silver vapor. On the third attempt, he produced a Patronus, which charged on the first Dementor, and then with his encouragement, chased away the second from his cousin, and that was what happened. So it's like she describes exactly what did happen,
I mean, yes, she does. And it's entirely possible that she is witnessing the scene unfold and watching the Patronus be cast and Dudley be affected, Harry be affected, and all those things, and still not see the Dementors.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that her account is incorrect. It's just sort of like she may even know the feeling of a Dementor even if she hasn't seen one.
I mean, you're right. She could just be like very quickly doing the obvious math that it's like, oh my gosh, clearly based on the effects, there are Dementors here. There's Harry, the kid I'm watching. Okay, I know that's a Patronus, and he sent it one way, sent it the other way, and now we're fine.
Right. Yes, exactly. And because the other line that happens on the previous page is that Mrs. Figg says they were big, and wearing cloaks. And it says that Harry felt a horrible sinking feel in the pit of his stomach. Whatever Mrs. Figg said to the contrary, it sounded to him as though the most she had ever seen was a picture of a Dementor, and a picture could never convey the truth of what these beings were like.
I know.
You know, like the eerie way that they move, hovering inches off the ground, the rotting smell of them, the terrible rattling noise. Like it's the kind of thing where it's like you wouldn't choose big and cloaked if you had the other adjectives available at your disposal, because like big and cloaked all of a sudden don't really feel that relevant compared to the scabby hands, like you know, all these like
the
weird,
rattling breath and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, like the horror that is. Now, the other thing though that is like squibs don't equal muggles though is that despite her non-magicalness, she like does work with magical beings. You know, like she breeds the Neasels. Right. And it's like, if you were a, like no regular muggle is going to be allowed to do that, but she is allowed to do it. So there's like at least that. And then this is like, the only other comparison point I really have, and it like is with Filch, who we would argue is not a squib, but a poltergeist. But for the sake of, do squibs possess any magical essence about them? Argument. If our theory is not correct and Filch is just like canonically a squib, he seems like he has some sort of extra connection with his cat, Mrs. Norris.
That is a good point. Yeah. And I tend to always assume like that the connection between Filch and Mrs. Norris is an even further extension of our theory that they're almost like one and the same a little bit.
Yeah.
It does seem like Mrs. Norris's ability to like contact Filch from far away, like works in a way that it shouldn't.
Right.
Because you're right. Yeah. It's like otherwise Filch is more magical than we're giving him credit for, which would kind of disqualify him as a squib, or he's magical in a different way entirely, which I would then argue fits better with our theory,
right?
That he is then a poltergeist,
right?
And it's sort of like, I don't know.
It's so weird. But then the other weird thing is that both these otherwise squib characters have relationships with cats.
Also true.
Like, why?
I don't know. Is there any world where Mrs. Figg could potentially be Newt and Tina's like daughter?
Oh my God. Let's see.
Because they would have been born in, like, I want to say Newt is born like the very early, like 1900s.
Well, I mean, but we get her whole name, you know, Arabella Doreen Figg, wouldn't she? I guess it's Mrs. Figg. That could be that she's like a widow, I suppose, right?
Like a widow. Yeah.
Right. Because Mrs. would suggest married.
Right.
Right.
I mean, there's some instances where, I mean, it would be tough because it would mean she's not fully a squib. But like, I want to say that after Tom Riddle Sr. leaves Merope, that it's almost described as if like her magical powers like vanished.
Right.
Like, you know, through the disappointment or the sadness or the heartbreak or whatever the case may be, attached to that sensation. Like, you know, I suppose that there's a chance that Arabella Figg was born a witch and lost her powers.
You know what though? I don't hate I doubt that she's like lost her powers or something, but I want to say don't Newt and Tina also have Neasels?
They do. They
have
Neasels.
Neasels. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Right.
So they have multiple children. One of them is Mrs. Figg. She moves back to London, works for Dumbledore. Watches over Harry Potter, breeds muggle cats with Neasels from her parents. Oh my gosh, it's starting to fit way too well.
Yeah, right?
It's starting to fit way too well. That's weird.
It is weird.
Oh no, not Mrs. Figg.
But then like, you know, even like, I mean, Newt is never described. I mean, like Mrs. Figg, Newt is not like a swaggerific individual. Like, I mean, he's adorably awkward.
Yes.
But he's an awkward guy.
Yeah.
You know, like he's not necessarily splendid with people. He's great with Tina.
Yeah, he's
Like,
great with Tina.
You know, and it's because they like vibrate at the same frequency as each other. But you know, like I think it would kind of fit with like Mrs. Figg's sort of like off kilter.
Yes. I think you could definitely make this theory because like Newt and Tina can't be having kids much later than when you see them in the movies.
True.
You know?
Right. Yes.
Like they're in like their like 30s or something then.
Yes.
Right.
Or yeah, like I don't know what age they are supposed to be, but you're right. Like I think I feel like I'm almost certain that Newt is born either like in 1899 or like 1903 or somewhere in that zip code.
Well, heck, even if you wanted to say they don't have a kid for 10 more years or something,
right,
into the 30s, then by the time you get to the 90s, that kid's still pretty old. Right? They're like 60, which is about where you'd probably put Mrs. Figg based on whatever.
Yeah.
Description.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. She fits that. There's the Neasels. There's even the last name would be accounted for because it sounds like she would be married and then widowed.
Right.
Right. Arabella. Why would they choose Arabella?
Yeah.
And Doreen.
Doreen could be mother's name of Tina.
Could be. We don't know much about her.
We don't. They died of dragon pox.
Right.
When they were quite young.
It would feel like it could fit very much into the Ilvermorny story too, because Ilvermorny is founded by what? A witch, 2 adopted wizard boys, and a muggle husband. And then Isolde Sire and James Stewart have several children, one of whom is also like a squib.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So it's like the Credence storyline of like being an Obscurus and repressing your magic and stuff.
Yep.
Like that, it all feels, yeah. Oh man, this is I have never considered Mrs. Figg might be related to anyone important in the rest of the story at all.
Yeah, I mean, but it would further, connect, like, because you've always asked the question, sort of like,
because then Crookshanks is like related to Newt,
Ooh,
if that's so many like theories connecting the dots,
right?
But it's like then if indeed Crookshanks is the Potter's cat. And Crookshanks was bred by Mrs. Figg, who breeds half Neasels, which Crookshanks is. And if Mrs. Figg is Newt's daughter, then her initial Neasels probably come from him, which means Crookshanks is like the great-great-great-great-grandson of one of Newt's cats, which is awesome.
Which is awesome. It's very cool.
I love it.
Yeah. It all fits together.
There's no way. But maybe.
Do we have anything? I mean, is there anything that would violently disprove it? Because even the thought of like Newt and Tina having a squib would feel so on brand for them.
That's what I mean.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it would just seem like not in any, that's not in any, like there's no judgment attached to that in any way, shape, or form. It's literally just like, I could see how they would be the ultimate parents to a squib.
Absolutely. And then she works for Dumbledore, which so did Newt.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then it also explains, like, it doesn't explain, but it's sort of like, well, where is Newt during like the events of Harry Potter? And it's like, he's not physically present himself because he would also be nearly 100 years old in his 90s.
Right.
However, his daughter
exactly
could be involved.
Exactly.
So he's not involved.
But we know he has multiple children at least then. If this is the case, then he would have had to have had multiple children. Because we don't know about that generation. That's like a weird gap in knowledge. Newt existed and marries Tina. And you know that his grandson, Rolf Scamander, marries Luna. But you don't know about the in-between generation there.
Right.
Oh my gosh, Mrs. Figg is Luna's aunt-in-law.
Oh, cool.
How appropriate.
How appropriate. How wonderful.
Oh, they're all getting together at Thanksgiving every year.
God, what an eclectic bunch.
Yeah. This feels like it fits.
Neat.
Yeah. Okay. I don't hate it, guys. We're going to look more into that one.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. That's a weird one. Mrs. Figg and Newt. Boy, didn't see that coming out of this chapter. This is how it happens. We spent a lot of time on that.
I know. Well, more than we should have probably, but that's okay.
Ben, people like the long episodes.
That's right. Right. Okay. So anyway, back to the trial. So that is what you saw, was it? That was what happened, Mrs. Figg repeated. And I do love that response.
Yes.
From her. Because
she's going a little backbone as she begins talking.
Precisely. Yeah. It's it's like, that's what you're saying you saw. And it's like, no, that's what happened.
No. Yeah.
I like the correction. Very well, said Fudge. You may go. And then Fudge is like, not a very convincing witness. And then Madam Bones is like, oh, I don't know. She certainly described the effects of a Dementor attack very accurately.
Yes.
And I can't imagine why she would say she was there if she wasn't.
That's the real thing. Yeah.
Right.
Why would she lie about it?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's like, this is where Dumbledore's sort of like, yeah, just don't look up the list of my army and, my comrades in arms.
Exactly. I know. But then Fudge is like, yeah, but Dementors wandering into a Muggle suburb and just happening onto a wizard? Like, the odds on that must be very long. Bagman wouldn't have bet, which I love it when we get mentions of Ludo Bagman outside of Goblet of Fire.
Yep. And that's an interesting one too, because the Ludo Bagman storyline is one that just goes like also unfinished.
Right.
It's just sort of like, yeah, he was sort of a giant red herring for all of Goblet of Fire. We don't get a very satisfactory conclusion as to like what goes down with him. And he doesn't ever really come up again other than this one piece of slander against his name.
Yeah.
And I say slander, but it's probably at least reasonably accurate.
Yeah, definitely.
But then Dumbledore chimes in, oh, I don't think any of us believe the Dementors are there by coincidence, said Dumbledore lightly. And then the witch sitting on the right of Fudge with her face in shadow moved slightly, but everyone else was quite still and silent.
Right. So what it's supposed to sound like is that, this is Umbridge, of course, is that she's just like, she's shifting because she's like how dare you disagree with Cornelius,
right?
Is what the shifting is supposed to sound like. But what she's really shifting is because she's the one who said the Dementors.
Yes, so that's a little bit of guilt kind of squirreling through her there, because at this moment it's sort of like, okay, like even Fudge doesn't know that I did this thing,
right?
But I did.
Yes.
Anyway, let's see here. So then Fudge is going to be like, and what is that supposed to mean? And Dumbledore's like, it means I think they were ordered there. And then Fudge is like, I think we might have a record of it if somebody had ordered a pair of Dementors to go strolling through Little Whinging. But then
Dumbledore responds calmly, I might add, not if the Dementors are taking orders from someone other than the Ministry of Magic these days. Dumbledore said calmly.
This one's an interesting line as well, because basically what he's alluding to here is the possibility that it could be Voldemort who had done this. And in this case, Dumbledore is incorrect.
He actually is, which is very unusual for him.
It is very unusual for him. And especially even inside of this scene where it seems like Dumbledore is like kind of owning the room with his like calm demeanor and his politeness and all that type of stuff. Like he's basically suggesting to Fudge, like, you know who it could be. Like I've warned you that Dementors could be a problem.
Exactly.
With Voldemort, they're natural allies. And so it's almost funny that it's not Voldemort who did this.
The funny thing is like he's sort of trying to take Fudge aside a little bit. Like he's trying to use Fudge against himself. Because what he's going to follow up with is the Dementor, Fudge is going to say the Dementors were playing in place in Azkaban and do everything we ask them to. And the Dumbledore's like, well, then we must ask ourselves who at the Ministry ordered a pair of Dementors into the alleyway? Because like if you're in control of them and they were there, then you must have sent them. He's like, and I think in Dumbledore, and he's kind of like, I feel like what Dumbledore is saying is like, and I don't think you did that.
Right. Yes.
Which is actually Dumbledore's wrong. They did do that.
Right. Yes. Right. Just nobody knows.
But this logic does lead. It leads Dumbledore to this exact conclusion, and as such, which is not even the point he's trying to make, but he has landed on the exact truth, which is that Umbridge did it, and she then, of course, responds yet again because she fears that she is about to be exposed. It says, the witch to the right of Fudge leaned forward so that Harry saw her for the first time.
He thought she looked like a
large pale toad. Oh, sorry.
No, that's what I was going to say it with you at the same time.
Yeah.
On three, 1, 2, 3. He thought she looked like a large pale toad.
Gross.
Yeah, she does.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. She was rather squat with a broad, flabby face.
Flabby.
As little neck as Uncle Vernon and a very wide, slack mouth. Her eyes were large, round, and slightly bulging. Even the little black velvet bow perched on top of her short, curly hair put him in mind of a large fly fly that she was about to catch in a long, sticky tongue.
Gross.
And then the Fudge says the chair recognizes Dolores Jane Umbridge, senior undersecretary to the minister. The witch spoke in a fluttery, girlish, high-pitched voice that took Harry aback. He had been expecting a croak. I'm sorry, I must have misunderstood you, Professor Dumbledore. But it sounded for a teensy moment as though you were suggesting the Ministry of Magic had ordered an attack on this boy.
Oh, the audacity of Umbridge here. She is like, how dare, like, am I correct in hearing you think we did this? That's preposterous when she is literally the one who did it. But this is kind of what we talked about earlier with Umbridge trying to borrow pages from Dumbledore's own book. She is trying to do the thing where she's being so polite, but actually like attacking.
Right.
But she's just failing at it a lot more.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, her tone doesn't carry nearly as well and just comes across as annoying.
No.
Yeah. But then Dumbledore is basically just putting the logic puzzle together for him. If it is true that the Dementors are taking orders only from the Minister of Magic, and it is also true that 2 Dementors attacked Harry and his cousin a week ago, then it follows logically that somebody at the Ministry of Magic might have ordered the attacks, said Dumbledore politely. Of course, these particular Dementors may have been outside Minister control.
Right. He's like, if you'd like to admit that maybe I'm right, then you won't be wrong.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
So Dumbledore has put himself in a very good win-win position here.
Yes. Yes, and he's even giving them an out. It's like, look, you can disagree with me. And of course, Fudge isn't budging at all. He says, there are no Dementors outside of Ministry control. And Dumbledore is like, very well then. Undoubtedly, the Ministry will make a full inquiry as to why 2 Dementors were so very far from Azkaban and why they attacked without authorization.
Right.
Yes.
And so what he's done a great job of here is basically just like planted a stake in the ground that is sort of like, okay, we can all agree based on the evidence from Mrs. Figg that Dementors were there. We have to now assume that that is true. Using everything else that we defined, now we have these conclusions available on the table. And yeah, so it's really, once you've established that Dementors are there is no way for Fudge to get out.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, it's like, and it must be frustrating for Fudge because as far as Fudge is concerned, Mrs. Figg was completely full of it. But Dumbledore is proceeding forward as if her words were ironclad truth.
Yes, 100%. Yes. Yep. Then Fudge chimes in and says, it is not for you to decide what the Ministry of Magic does or does not do, Dumbledore, snapped Fudge. And this is going to come back on Fudge here in just a moment as well.
Yeah.
Because Dumbledore's going to say, of course it isn't. I was merely expressing my confidence that this matter will not go uninvestigated. And he
Masterful.
Yeah. He glanced at Madame Bones, who had readjusted her monocle and stared back at him, frowning slightly. Like, is she seeing his point here? Like, Madame Bones is such a strange, like, neutral character in this whole scene.
I know, she really is.
It seems like she doesn't know what's going on. She doesn't know any of the beef. She's like, are you two fighting?
Right. Yeah.
What's
going on here?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a judge. Okay.
Right.
I'm trying to do this fairly. You guys seem like you're talking about something else entirely. Did you know this guy can do a Patronus? Dumbledore, could you like maybe sit him and Susan next to each other in class at some point or something?
As long as they're getting time together.
Exactly.
I'm happy.
Right. Yeah. You know, just make it happen. But then let's see. Fudge says, we're here to examine Harry Potter's offenses under the decree for the reasonable restriction of underage sorcery. So he's very flustered at this point. And Dumbledore's like, yes, obviously that's why we're here, but the presence of Dementors in the alleyway is highly relevant. Clause 7 of the decree states that magic may be used for muggles, before muggles, in exceptional circumstances, and as those exceptional circumstances include situations that threaten the life of the wizard or witch himself, or witches or wizards, muggles present at the time. Man, I cannot read this.
I know, yeah, it's a whole. I mean, you got wizard legal jargon.
I know, we got all the legal jargon here. Of course, Fudge is like trying to shut him down. We're familiar with clause 7. It's like, of course. Then we're in agreement. He's like, oh, you are good. Then we're in agreement that this was fine. See ya.
Right.
Yeah.
If there were Dementors, which I doubt, you have heard from an eyewitness, Dumbledore interrupted. If you still doubt her truthfulness, call her back, question her again. I'm sure she would not object. That's not.
Yeah.
I want this over today, Dumbledore.
That's why I called everyone here at 8 a.m.
Right. But naturally, you would not care how many times you heard from a witness if the alternative was a serious miscarriage of justice.
Yeah.
Serious miscarriage, my hat.
Oh, he is so on the ropes.
He absolutely is. It's the best.
Yeah.
And also, he just loves that hat.
He does. Yeah. You're not even wearing right now.
No,
You
he's
know?
not. Yeah. So then we try to go through. Then he just starts like pulling, like.
Right. He's just throwing the spaghetti at the wall at this point. He's just like, but this boy's always come up with crazy stories. I suppose you've forgotten the hover charm. And he's like, it was a house elf. And he's like, see?
Gesturing flamboyantly in Harry's direction. A house elf in a muggle home, I ask you. And then
Dumbledore.
This is my favorite part.
I know.
Is the house elf in question is currently at the employ of Hogwarts School. I can summon him here in an instant to give evidence if you wish.
Oh.
And I'm just like, oh my God, please do.
Please do. I so badly wish Dobby could have been summoned. In fact, even in the HBO show, I badly hope that Dobby doesn't have to do anything in this scene, but it would be so amazing if it was like that, if Dumbledore was like, the house elves in question is currently in the employ of Hogwarts. Dobby, crack. He's like, I haven't got time to listen to house elves. You're dismissed. Crack.
Yeah, exactly. That's all we need.
Just like a yes. Bye.
The point is that Dumbledore's not lying, and Dobby would show up in a heartbeat, and he'd be like, Harry Potter, sir.
I know. I know. I love it. It's like, I haven't got time to listen to house elves. That's another
like
Voldemortism, like Fudge not taking house elves seriously.
100%.
Yeah, getting a little Voldy-esque here.
Yep. And then he's like, he blew up his aunt for God's sake, which is also kind of interesting because for the most part in fantasy books, we don't say the phrase for God's sake. Oftentimes in many fantasy books, there are multiple gods.
Yeah.
And like they will say, thank the gods. Or alternatively in this story, a lot of times we get like Merlin's beard or Merlin's pants.
Yeah.
Or Merlin's soggy.
Yeah. Yeah, baggy wads or whatever.
Something like that. Yeah. So it's just interesting that he's actually referencing like a deity at all.
But like they do like celebrate Christmas and Easter and stuff.
They do.
You know?
They do, yes.
Like and like Dumbledore has quotes from the Bible on his grave, right?
And
on his mother's grave.
And Harry does return from the dead.
And Harry does return from the dead in a chapter called King's Cross.
Yeah.
So
it's a little on the old nostrils there.
Yeah, it is. It is all there. There is a certain Christian through line.
There is that, yeah. But anyway, so yeah, Fudge is shouting about Harry blowing up the aunt, and Dumbledore's just like, and you very kindly did not press charges on that occasion.
Right.
Accepting, I presume, that even the best wizards cannot always control their emotions.
Oh, got him.
He really did.
Oh my gosh, he's absolutely talking about Fudge in this moment right now.
Banging his fist on the judge's bench and upsetting a bottle of ink.
It's so funny because the person who Harry runs into that clears him of these charges is literally Fudge himself.
Yes.
He's like, oh, we don't send people to Azkaban for blowing up their aunts. It's like, but you would have if it had happened this year.
You will come to eat those words, my man.
Yeah, this is now.
Yeah. And so then before I had the moment that I pointed out where basically Fudge says it is not for you to decide what the Ministry of Magic does or does not do, Dumbledore. And now we have the moment where Fudge is going to say, and I haven't even started on what he gets up to at school. And then Dumbledore is going to retort, but as the Ministry has no authority to punish Hogwarts students for misdemeanors at school, Harry's behavior there is not relevant to this inquiry. So that's Dumbledore being like, let me take your words, bottle them up, throw them right back at you.
Right. So you can't do that. But this is, of course, where he's going to start listing a bunch of things that is going to give Umbridge some very bad ideas.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
And so this is where it's like, sometimes don't point out your opposition's weaknesses because they might not know them.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, ho, said Fudge, not our business what he does at school, eh? You think so? And then Dumbledore's like, the Ministry does not have the power to expel students, Cornelius, as I reminded you on the night of the 2nd of August. And then he's going to go into the same thing about confiscating wands until charges have been successfully proven, also on the 2nd of August. And then Fudge is going to say, laws can be changed. And it's like, uh-oh, like this is not good. Like, don't Now you have identified the things that they are going to change to.
Right. And Dumbledore's like, yes, they can be changed. But while we're here today, the laws are what they are.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And he does also point out the fact that Cornelius is already making changes because just in a few short weeks since Dumbledore was asked to leave the Wizengamot, it has already become practice to hold a full criminal trial to deal with a simple matter of underage magic.
Yeah. I mean, this would be like being sent to the Supreme Court for like a traffic ticket, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. It's sort of like, I'm in the wrong room, I think.
Yeah. And you're like, no, you're not. In fact, we brought in a special judge. It's the president. And you're like, what?
No, that's not good.
For why? He's like, he's here to expel you from school, obviously.
Will my principal be here to be my lawyer?
That's what's happening here in this scene.
It is.
Yeah. Anyway. So he points that out. The Wisdom of God is like, I guess it is kind of weird that we're here for that now that you mention it at 8 o'clock in the morning. But Umbridge, on the other hand, it says the toad-like witch on his right, however, merely gazed at Dumbledore, her face quite expressionless. She absolutely hates Dumbledore.
She does.
And cannot, but she is fuming that he is defeating Fudge so vehemently.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. But Dumbledore is just to the point where he's just basically like, look, I've pinned you into a corner. I can logic you all day. Enough is enough. He has been charged with a specific offense and he has presented his defense. All he and I can do now is await your verdict.
Yep.
To which Harry is like, yo, we could say more.
We could say more.
We could say more. He's like, I don't know if we've properly
Do you have a phone? I could call Dudley.
I'll call him right now.
I'll do it.
I'll call him right now. Dudders. Yeah. Big D.
Big D. What's happening? I know you're probably at school. Not yet.
Right. Yeah. Not yet. No, it's all good. He's just at the Dursley still.
Yeah.
So Harry had expected the hearing to last longer than this. He had not really said very much. He ought to have explained more fully about the Dementors, about how he had fallen over, about how he and Dudley had nearly been kissed. Which with the context being kind of distant at this point, it's kind of a funny line.
It is kind of a funny line. Yeah.
It's like, they almost kissed me.
They almost kissed me. Oh.
What?
Okay.
Sure.
Weird.
Obviously Dementors kiss. We know what that is, but either way. So anyway, everybody then starts whispering amongst themselves, and then Madam Bones is going to say, those in favor of clearing the accused of all charges. Harry's head jerked upward. There were hands in the air. Many of them, more than half. Breathing very fast, he tried to count, but before he could finish, Madam Bones had said, and those in favor of conviction. Fudge raised his hand, and so did a half dozen others, including the witch on his right and the heavily mustached wizard and the frizzy-haired witch in the second row. Fudge glanced around at all of them, looking as though he had something large stuck in his throat, then lowered his own hand. He took 2 deep breaths and said, in a voice distorted by suppressed rage, very well, very well. Cleared of all charges.
Booyah.
Booyah, indeed. And then Dumbledore sort of like, excellent.
See ya.
Springs to his feet, gets rid of the chintz armchairs, and immediately departs without a single passing glance at Harry.
Right. Swept from the dungeon. Not going to talk to Arthur either.
Not going to talk to Arthur either. Yeah.
Nope.
Who is standing just outside the door. He's just going to walk right past him.
Right past him.
But with that, it will bring us to the end of chapter 8. Will give us reason to look forward to chapter 9, the woes of Mrs. Weasley. And Jay, before we close out for the day, do you have a review for us?
I sure do, Ben. Let me pull it up for us real quick. This one comes from Pancakes Piano Pudding.
Hey, that's a really good name.
I know,
Pancakes
right?
Piano Pudding.
And it says, Aberforth's Bezoar? This is an absolutely amazing podcast. I've been re-listening to the past episodes while waiting for the new episodes each week, and they never get old. I had a question about when Dumbledore says Aberforth has been prosecuted for practicing inappropriate charms on a goat. This always seems to be a strange throwaway line, but what if Aberforth is actually trying to create a magically enhanced Bezoar, either to bring Ariana back to life or to find a cure for future obscurials?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting thought. I mean,
it is.
I mean, the goat thing has always been weird.
It has been weird. It has been weird. To get to what they're trying to say in this question, if you don't know, a Bezoar is a stone formed in the stomach of a goat. They are real things.
We've held
not a magical
one.
thing. Yeah, we've held one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, they end up kind of coming out. I think it's like a lot of like partially digested like hair and stuff, and they kind of come out of these like polished looking stones.
Yeah.
So they're real thing. And then in the wizarding world, we're gonna see them come up in a handful of different occasions. Not the least of which when Ron gets poisoned on his birthday by the oak matured mead.
Yes.
Madame Rosmerta's that is supposed to go to Dumbledore as a gift, as a way to poison Dumbledore, but Slughorn keeps it and ultimately uncorks it so that they can all have a drink because of the love potion situation.
Right.
And Harry will discover a Bezoar, shove it down Ron's mouth, and effectively save his life.
Right.
So the question here is that, like, if goats do have this magical stone that live inside their stomach, and Aberforth was doing unusual magic on a goat, is it possible that it had something to do with goats' abilities to produce Bezoars?
Right.
Or Bezoars.
A Bezoar. And I mean, I don't hate the idea because we know what the Bezoar is supposed to do, like act as an antidote or something.
Right.
Like for like most poisons or whatever. And we know that Ariana, and so then you have to wonder, okay, that's the only like magical thing we know about goats at all.
Right.
Basically. And if Aberforth is doing something with goats, it like you could argue then it must have been related to the only magical thing they can do, which is make this antidote or something. So from there, you would want to ask then, well, does Aberforth have anyone in his life or any reason to be trying to like enhance or create that object? And it's like, well, yes, he does. That would be his sister, Ariana.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I mean, in that particular capacity, I think it would fit very nicely with a lot of the other theories we've made about other characters who have similar ambitions. Speaking, of course, of the second brother, who is not Antioch or Cadmus Peveril. The second brother, obviously creating the Resurrection Stone in the hopes of returning his fiance.
Right.
You know, the woman he once hoped to marry.
Right.
I think is the exact phrasing that we get there. And then we've got Dumbledore, who creates the Deluminator, who we've also kind of theorized potentially was creating something to the tune of being able to like bring those you love or travel to those you love when they say your name, which is, of course, we know a power of the Deluminator. And the kind of tragic thought with the Deluminator is that the people who Dumbledore want to say his name are all past, and therefore he can't ever fully discover whether or not the device works. And what I think is interesting about the idea of a Bezoar is that it's very similar to a Resurrection Stone.
Right.
And like, just in terms of being a small
stone,
a small rock-like object,
right?
You know,
and when we went to the British Library for their History of Magic exhibit, we also learned that Bezoars used to be carried around like by royalty in like very ornate like containers.
Yes, they did.
Yeah. So which honestly are extremely reminiscent of how like the snitch was holding the Resurrection Stone. Also true.
Oh, that's a very good point. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's really like if you think of like a Fabergé egg, like it's kind of like, that's kind of like what they look like a little golden gilded ball. Yeah. So I mean, it really is, and that's a really, really great point.
Right.
That like, oh man, now I'm just wondering whether or not the real Resurrection Stone was somehow, some way a Bezoar as well.
A Bezoar as well. That's very interesting. Man, that would require more research.
That would. I hadn't thought about the real world implications of how Bezoars were typically stored. And the fact that the snitch, I like that parallel though.
I do. I really like that as well. Now we also made a video about the goats at one point.
I remember this, and I want to say it hails back to Norse mythology.
It does hail back to Norse mythology, specifically the idea of Ragnarok and Valhalla.
Okay.
Yes. So Ragnarok, yes, like Thor. That's, all Norse stuff anyway. Ragnarok is like the big final battle, the last battle or whatever that will like destroy Asgard or whatever. That's what happens in the movie. It's a big battle, the end of things, the apocalypse or whatever.
Asgard is a people, not a place.
Yes. Asgard is a people, not a place. So what happens though is that when Norse warriors die in battle, they go to wait for Ragnarok in a place called Valhalla, which is like a giant dining hall where they like drink and eat and await Ragnarok, the final battle. That's like the gathering spot, right? So the barman, the guy running Valhalla though is a guy. Nope, I picked up the wrong thing. Is a character by the name of, hold on, I have it right here, Hadron. Yes. And who I want to say like has the tree that Hadron the goat was eating from. Hadron is like a goat character.
Okay.
He is a character.
And
he produced what?
Aberforth is also a barman.
Yeah, Aberforth is a barman. Hadron produces like mead from his horns. Let's see, made from. Okay, we'll get all to it. Every night, what they eat in Valhalla is a one very specific boar, which is killed every night. It is like hunted and killed every single night.
Okay,
and that's important as it relates to Aberforth because, as you know, he works at the Hogshead Inn, and on the front is a beheaded boar,
right,
which is part of the sign. And if you look at the description of the sign closely, it says it looks like it's like you can still see the blood, like it still looks like it was freshly killed at all times. So that makes it feel like, and if you were hunting the same boar every night, it would constantly be freshly killed.
Right.
This is also like when, if you want to call it the gathering spot before Ragnarok, before the Battle of Hogwarts, which would represent Ragnarok here.
This is where everybody's going to come
This is
through.
where everyone is going to come through. This is the gathering spot, is the bar, is Valhalla, is where people are going to apparate into and then go through to the castle. And what Valhalla is as we said, it's like the army of the dead, right? And it's like, okay, well, they're not the dead, and yet their leader is the master of death. So in a way, the army of Hogwarts is in fact the army of the dead.
Army of the dead. Yeah. And it's even kind of awesome too, because like all of the food is like one of the things that they can't get in the room of requirement because of Gamp's law of elemental transfiguration or whatever. So all of the food comes from the Hogshead as well, which would mean that as the barman, he's also like literally feeding the soldiers of Valhalla.
He's feeding them. He feeds Harry specifically, when they visit there as well, when they're all starving. And then Hadron, the goat, produces mead, which is important because mead, if you don't know, is wine that is made from honey, which might not sound relevant until you learn the name Dumbledore means bumblebee, as in the very creature that makes honey. Yeah.
Boom, bam. Is that our theory?
That's our theory, yeah.
Man,
I know. We should redo that one, man.
That's a great one.
And the goats. I was reading the other, I was like, man, this really comes together really nicely at the end.
We've had Aberforth and the goats we did have it on our whiteboard for, I want to say like 4 years.
It says in the script 3 years.
3 years. Okay.
Yeah, but my goodness, was I wrong? This idea has been on our whiteboard for 3 years.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it was this thing that we always kept coming back to. It was like, do we have an explanation? Have we figured something out?
I know. It's like there must be something.
There must be. Okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
In case you were unawares, now you're awares.
But perhaps we need to update or do another version of this with the Bizarre.
The Bizarre.
The Bizarre.
I like it. I like it. Great question. Great question.
Oh, very good question.
Well, y'all, thank you so much as always for tuning into this week's episode of the show.
Yes, thank you so much. Make sure you join us next week for Chapter 9, The Woes of Mrs. Weasley, here on Through the Griffin Door.
Today's episode was edited by Ethan Edghill. Vaishon Brandon does our art. Catherine Stein is our production manager, and the show is hosted by me and Jonathan Carlin.